Well, this whole COVID-19 thing has made tensions between the United States and China grow a little bit. First, the administration condemned Beijing for the reaction to COVID-19 and now for their crackdown on Hong Kong's freedom. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was tweeting, Beijing's effort to undermine Hong Kong's autonomy cannot go unchallenged by the international community. Overnight, China's parliament approved the Hong Kong security bill. That law bans activities that Beijing considers to be, quote, a danger to national security. That led to more riots and arrests in Hong Kong, where residents feel their freedom will be taken away. Meanwhile, the Trump administration is finally standing up to China. Yay! The U.S. is going to expel Chinese graduate students with ties to China's military schools. Finally doing something. What does all this really mean, though? Let's ask Asia expert Gordon Chang. Gordon, welcome back on such a glorious day.
Thank you so much, Sean.
All right. How big of an action is today as a first step?
Well, this really is important. Now, it won't affect that many students. There's maybe 3,000 out of 360,000. But the point here is that we've got to start because China has been sending surreptitiously its military officers into American universities to steal information. And by the way, this is more than just the Chinese military, because in 2017, China passed a national intelligence law that requires every Chinese national to spy for Beijing if requested. And that means we've got a big problem because it's not just those 3,000 students, it's the other 357,000.
Well, you bring a good point, and I want to show you a clip from Foreign Policy magazine that is freaking out a little bit, saying the United States can't afford to turn away Chinese talent. Discriminating aimed at foreign students will only harm American competitiveness. But Gordon, you make a great point. This is a small number of the 360,000 students that come to the U.S. You know, we've been talking for a long time about holding China accountable. What else can be done? Is it enlarging that number so it's more of the 360,000, or is it in other ways?
Well, I think it's going to be more than just the 3,000. And to me, this is a really personal issue because my father came as a Chinese student on a Chinese government scholarship, and he arrived on a Liberty boat into the port of Los Angeles just a few months before the end of the war. I actually think that the issue of Chinese students in American universities is an extremely complex issue because, as foreign policy says, this does have a financial impact. But we do know that they are taking large amounts of information. These students are acting in a manner incompatible with their status here. But there are things we can do. So, for instance, for many, many years in previous administrations, we allowed Chinese diplomats and Ministry of State Security agents to surveil Chinese students on American soil. We absolutely need to stop that because clearly this is something that forces the students to spy and to do other things which undermine our society.
You know, Gordon, let me turn a little bit towards Hong Kong. There's two things that concern me about this. Number one, from a trade perspective, we have a trade relationship with Hong Kong. If China fully takes this over, what would it do to our trade relationship too? And number two, vis-a-vis our relationship with China itself, if we really come in on the side of Hong Kong, how is that going to affect our relationship with mainland China?
Well, the moves that we're going to make on Hong Kong to protect the autonomy there, for instance, withdrawing sanctions, exemptions, imposing the tariffs that didn't apply before. Yeah, that's going to hurt our relationship with China, as they say. But we really don't have a choice because China is attacking American society across the board. So our response has to be across the board. And we can't think that we can get out of 4 or 5 decades of really misguided and sometimes disastrous China policy and to think that there won't be a cost to the United States. Of course, there will be a cost. But we really at a point where we don't have a choice if we want to maintain our sovereignty and our society, because China's attacking it relentlessly every day, Sean. I mean, we just don't have a choice.
Gordon, we don't have very much time left, but the Democrats are saying that Republicans are just using China as their whipping pole. How important is it for Americans to understand what's really at stake here?
Lindsay, this is absolutely critical. You know, I can understand that they might try to attack the president's motivations. But the point is, we have a common enemy. That common enemy threatens the existence of our republic. And it's really wrong for any party in the United States, any individual, to support the narrative of the Chinese Communist Party as it relentlessly goes after us. So we really have, at this point, we shouldn't be doing that. And this has got to be a national conversation because we need unity. We need unity at this point.
Yeah. You make a great point, Gordon. Thank you so much for your insight. Always appreciate having you on to talk about these important topics.
Thanks, Lindsay and Sean.
You bet. All right, when we return, Sean and I will talk about the horrific acts that happened against George Floyd in Minneapolis. And our company is going to weigh in on what has happened with the Twitter wars against the president when we return.